this video, what we're going to see is how are we going to multiply when we have a number, and we're going to multiply that to an exponent that has a base of 10. So base 10 exponents, how do we do it? Okay. This is fairly simple. All we need to do is copy down the number. Don't worry about the decimal. Just copy the number down without the decimal. So I see a 2 and a 5. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 and 5, not worry about the decimal. Then I have 10 to the third power. So 10 to the third power means a 1 with 3 zeros. So all I need to do is add 3 zeros to my answer. So I'm going to go ahead and add those now. 1, 2, 3 zeros. And then, just like any time we're multiplying with decimals, all I need to do is count decimal places. How many decimal places are there in my problem? I only see one decimal place there, so what I'm going to do is move it in one decimal place, and my answer is 2,500. Okay? Notice I didn't put the decimal here or there. I mean, just write down the number, 3 zeros, move the decimal in one. Okay, I've got 0.482, 482 thousandths times 10 to the 7th power. I'm going to just go ahead and write down the number, 482. I'm going to go ahead and put down 7 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. And then I'm going to look at my problem. There are 3 decimal places in my problem. So I'm going to have to move my decimal is here. I'm going to move it in 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. That's where my decimal goes. 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. My answer is 4,820,000. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at this. Our next example here. Okay, 26.09. I'm going to go ahead and just write the number down. 2609, that's my number here. I'm going to go ahead and add 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Now I'm going to look at my original problem. There are 2 decimal places in my problem, so I'm going to move in 2 decimal places. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. My answer is 2,609,000. Okay, so notice, just copy the number. That's how many zeros you're going to put down. And then, how many decimal places do you have in your answer? You're just going to move the decimal in where it needs to be. I move this one in 3 spaces because there are 3 in my problem. I move this one 2 spaces because there are 2 in my problem. Okay. Now, if we notice, another thing that we could do is count decimal places here. So I can see I've got 2.5. There's 1 decimal place. Notice that instead of putting 3 zeros down, I could just say, okay, I know I'm going to take away 1 decimal place. So if I want, I just put 2 zeros down. I notice this one I'm going to put 7 zeros, but since I'm going to move the decimal in 3 spaces because of my decimal position here, instead of putting 7 zeros, 7 minus 3, I'm just going to go ahead and put 4 zeros down. Notice on this one right here, I'm going to have my number 2 decimal places. So 5 minus 2 decimal places. Notice in my final answer, just 3 zeros. Okay? So let's just try one more, thinking about it that way. I could put all the zeros and move my decimal point back in, or, let me just write one real quick over here. If I have, for example, 7.08 times 10 to the 4th power, I notice that I have 2 decimal places here. So instead of putting 4 zeros, 4 minus those 2 decimal places, I'm just going to put 2 zeros, 4 minus 2. So I'm going to write my number, 708. That didn't change. And instead of putting 4 zeros and then having to move the decimal back, I'm just going to go ahead and put 2 zeros to take up this space here. 1, 2. Now notice if I did it the other way, I would just write 708, put my 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then move my decimal point in 2 spots. All I'm doing is just avoiding putting all those extra zeros after the decimal.